What's up, Magical Misfits? Drew here. This video is a response to a viewer. I think it must be under the video where I talked about my relationship with Auset and my journey thus far with her. I was asked if I would talk a little more about the opening of the mouth ritual. Okay, so disclaimer time. I have no problem discussing Auset or my journey with her, my relationship with her, what have you, on my channel. But I am in no way trying to set myself up as some kind of authority on any kind of Kemetic practices or Heka. I am very new to all of this. So anything that I discuss when it comes to Kemetic practices or Heka or things that I'm doing with Auset or because of Auset, gosh, please, if I say something that interests you and you're genuinely interested in it, please go research it yourself, because I know nothing. I genuinely know nothing. I am a mystic, so my path is very much intuitive. For me, it's about my intuition and it's about guidance. So when I feel that Auset is guiding me somewhere, I go there, okay? When I feel intuitively drawn to a practice or a resource for information, I go there. I get it. I work there in that vein. I research there. Whatever. So I am not trying to be any kind of reconstructionist. I'm just sort of walking this path one step at a time and seeing where I go. I have no idea what all this is going to look like. And I'm just working with Auset and using my own intuition to find my own way, okay? So, I just want to put that out there. I am not trying to teach anyone about Kemetic practices or Heka. I'm just a novice. I'm a baby over here. So with regards to my path and practice and what I'm doing, I'm fine. I am confident in that. But as far as giving it to others for them to possibly use in some way, I'm not confident in, honestly, because I have yet to see how it pans out. If it is right, what level of success? I do believe I'm taking these steps for a reason, but that doesn't mean that the things that I've done have been right as far as like Heka or Kemetics go, I guess. Second disclaimer, I didn't feel like talking about the opening of the mouth ritual as I understand it and as I experienced it and did it was enough to carry a full video. Maybe if I, did some huge research into the history and whatever. But again, I'm not trying to teach you anything. I'm just going to share what I have. So I'm going to talk about a few different things, not just the opening of the mouth ritual. First, let me say that I had nothing. Okay, my husband is very, very much drawn to ceremonial magic. So to say that we have nothing in the house is not true. My husband has books on the Golden Dawn and things that I definitely could have taken reference from. And actually the first book I picked up is one of his. I'll show you in just a second. So the first thing I did, as far as I wanted to know what I should be doing and what I should be studying or what have you, or where to go with this, because I just was at a loss in the beginning. And I did some astral work and went into the astral plane, and I met up with Auset, and actually Horus ended up coming to me. And when I posed the question of what should I be doing, he showed me images, and he showed me the image of the flower of life and a Merkaba and the platonic solids, all of which I obviously associate with sacred geometry. And then he directed my attention to the heavens, to the stars. And the messages that I got from that was that I needed to be looking into astrology and sacred geometry. Not that I thought that these were going to lead me into some new, deep, magical or spiritual practice with Auset, but it was just something that I was already familiar with, comfortable with, and had resources for that I could start with. But of course, I wanted something more. And so the first book that I grabbed was one that my husband has had for years, Egyptian Paganism by Jocelyn, Almond, and Keith Seddon, or Seddon. It's a Llewellyn book, yeah. And he's had this forever. And so I just sort of skimmed through this. I didn't read it. I don't know. I didn't feel like this is what I needed, but it was it was somewhere to start. So, it has a chapter on the concept of gods. It has a chapter on things like the different bodies and beliefs in ancient Egypt, casting a magic circle, making a shrine, invoking the gods' totem animals, then Egyptian magic, and the assumption of the god form. Then there's a part about sacred texts and specific deity, it looks like. Again, I really didn't feel like this was what I needed. To me, this is more taking, I guess, like Heka or Comedics and gearing it toward like a Wiccan or a sort of modern practitioner mindset is what it felt like. And it definitely didn't feel like what I needed, but I'm glad that I had it and that I looked at it. I don't remember what I got out of here, but I do remember that I got stuff out of this. So I was like, okay, that's something I didn't know. The second book, well, the first book that I have gotten my hands on specifically for my practice and for information for it is this book. And I'm sorry if everything's backwards. I don't know how to fix that. It's called Ancient Egyptian Magic. It's by Eleanor Harris. It had really good reviews. I believe that I chose it because it had a, that's it. The foreword is by Normandy Ellis, and she's respected in this area. Let's put it that way. And so that got my attention. I believe she's one of the people who started the mystery school out in Oregon. She has books, and I mean, she's just all over the place with Comedic practices with Heka. I really like this book. I recommend it. Again, this is coming from somebody, this is the first book I've ever looked at, so I don't know. But like this isn't ceremonial. This is like real legit looking at the ancient practices of ancient people from Egypt, from, you know, archaeological Egyptology, that kind of thing, their understanding. So let me quickly, the first chapter is understanding Egyptian religion and magical philosophy. Then there's ritual tools, amulets, writing and using magical script, divination, ancient Egyptian magic. There's a glossary of gods and goddesses. I really enjoy this book. I haven't fully gone through it, and I kind of jump around a bit. I've got two bookmarks in here because I kind of jump around depending on what it is I'm looking for. It's an easy read though. And there's a lot of really good information in here. Obviously, none of it is specific to Auset, but I have found some stuff online with regards to that because I feel like that's very important. But this totally changed the way that I thought about Heka because I didn't know anything about Heka. All I knew was just bare minimal information about the Golden Dawn, and they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing at all. Not by anything that I've read in here, and a couple other, again, online resources. I, again, am not looking to be a Reconstructionist, but I do want whatever I do to be more in line with what was going on then through my personal modern filter. I have more books on my wish list. Hopefully I'll be getting some for Yule. One that's really important to me to get is a good book, a good reference for Egyptian mythology, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Another thing that's been really important for me is this little notebook I made. It is full of information, and it's me jotting down and writing down. Now I'm going to have a book of Heka, similar to a grimoire, but again, I'm waiting for Yule to get my supplies to make that. To start making that. A lot of what'll be in there will come out of this book though. So the reason that getting my hands on a really good reference book of Egyptian mythology is important to me is because of this term Zep Tepi. So I'm just going to read what I have written because it's more succinct and it just is better than me trying to tell you. Translated as first event. Egyptian magic works by connecting the present situation with the Zep Tepi, finding the origin mythology that corresponds with the current situation and invoking it, calling the symbolism and energy into the present into spellcraft. So that is an important element of Heka, is being able to look at the origin, a myth of one of the deity. Of course, I would always hopefully try to find something with Auset if I could, just because, and invoking that. An example would be, there is the one that I always use is, there is a myth of Auset in which a young boy is stung by 7 scorpions. They are her guardian scorpions. Long story short, someone is rude to Auset, and while Auset doesn't necessarily take offense, her guardians do, and they go and they sting this person's child and kill the child. And Auset hears the wailing of the mother, goes to the child, and she names the names of the serpents and commands that their poison leave the child's body. So it's important that she names what's happening, gives it a name, and then commands it. So if I wanted to do healing magic, I could use this myth in that way. Something else important in Heka is the number 7, which was never, but now that has become a part of my ritual and magic. Not every single time, but I do use 7. I may say something 7 times. I may have an action happen 7 times. I may use 7, pieces of lavender or whatever. Like, I pull it in. So the opening of the mouth. This is a ritual in which it is believed that when you do this ritual with a statuary of a deity, it's no longer a representation of the deity. It is the deity. The deity lives in that statue. That's why in ancient Egypt, they would deface statues, because if you damage the statue in any way, then that contract, if you will, is broken. Then the goddess is no longer in that. It's just a hunk of stone or whatever, piece of wood, whatever it is. That's essentially the gist of the opening of the mouth ritual. Again, I'm not going to try to teach you about this, but I will give you a little brief overview of what I did, the way that I understand this ritual to work. So for me, I had the statue. I had some cleansing spray, could use a smoke wand, incense, something like that. I had incense and perfume oil. I had an athame, though you could use a wand. And they say a wand, I believe, in the material that I read, but I used an athame. I just felt drawn to. I had some water. I had an offering. I offered tea, but you could offer alcohol. That would be, wine, beer, something like that. Or whatever. If you're doing this for, I don't know. Again, this is to my understanding, this is a Kemetic practice. So if you're going to use this with a deity outside of Kemetics, yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But I would assume you would make an offering to the deity that they like. And for me, I pretty much give Auset tea on a daily basis. So we've already got that established. So I just went with that. And I don't really keep alcohol in the house. I can't drink. It makes me sick because of my hiatal hernia, even just a little bit. So, I cleansed the statue. I cleansed the Auset statue. I placed it on the shrine. I cast circle. And then there is specific things that should be said. So, again, you can look this up. And I did follow that procedure. So I called in Horus and I said what I needed to say. And there is a certain point in which you are talking, when you're saying, you're calling the deity into the statue, and you're saying you're opening their eyes and you're opening their mouth and the whole thing. And when you say you open their mouth, I use the athame to sort of cut that mouth open symbolically. You split open the mouth of the statue. Also the eyes at the same time. I split open your mouth for you. I split open your eyes for you. And when you say that, you do the action with your desired tool. And then I made an offering of the incense, the perfume oil, the drink, the tea. And I don't know maybe it was bread. I had some kind of food offering as well. I didn't write that down. And then I expressed my gratitude to both Horus and Auset. And I closed down the ritual. And I told my family that if they touched that statue, out of respect for me, if nothing else, they had to pretend as if they were touching a living thing. To be very careful. Like, that is Auset. She lives there now. Do not disrespect that statue. And don't touch it, but if you have to for some reason. I was guided to make a perfume for her. And so I have the recipe here. It smells amazing. I use it to anoint her devotional candles and to anoint her when I redress her shrine once I've cleansed it. This video is probably all over the place and I apologize for that. I'll talk quickly about my dedication ritual that I did. I never thought in my life I would do something like that, but I felt very drawn to do so. I looked at some of the things that the ancient Egyptian priests would do. For instance, they would shave all their body hair, cut their fingernails and their toenails completely down, wash thoroughly, cleanse themselves before they would go into the temples and, do any work or anything. So I was not going to shave all my body hair, but before my dedication ritual, I shaved all the body hair that I shave. I cut off my fingernails and my toenails, and because I grow my fingernails out, I cut them off. I anointed my whole body with a mixture of, it was some Palo Santo oil that I make. It was my Capet oil and Auset's oil that I made for her. And I made an amalgamation of those oils together and anointed my whole body. I wrapped myself in some white linen. I had a ritual necklace that I had ordered that's sort of Egyptian-esque, and I will only use in rituals when I feel called to do it. It is a special piece of jewelry. It is a ritual piece of jewelry. So I put that on. I removed I found the page where because I have the dedication as I wrote it before I did it, so that I knew what I wanted to do, and then I have what I actually did. So if there was any variant, I removed all my jewelry except for my piercings. I left all my piercings in. So I took a shower. I'm making sure to shave everything, clip my fingernails, my toenails. I anointed my whole body with that oil. I wrapped a piece of pure white linen around myself, and I put on my ritual necklace. I lit a white candle, and then I said the dedication that I had prepared. Now, this dedication that I have is something that I made up, basically. I made it up. I did have, I knew that I wanted to, for instance, in the very beginning, I'll read this part to you. It says, "Hail to you, Mother Auset, mourner of Asar, mistress of the old ones, lady of many faces in the secret place, mistress of the hidden mysteries, lady of offerings. I come that I may greet you." And then, I say that first part over and over and over again, and keep saying why I'm there. I come that I may meet you. I come that I may beseech you. And then I make my dedication. And I had already been gifted a name by Auset in a meditation sometime before I actually did the dedication. Let's see, March 6th, I got the name. It was on the same day that I did my dedication. That's right here. I'm looking at the dates on these, and I'm like, wait, that's the same date. Did I mess up? But I looked down at the very bottom of where I wrote down how I got my name. And it's on my dedication day or whatever. I'm all excited because I got the name on the same day that I did the dedication. I had the most beautiful dream. The most beautiful dream on my birthday. About Auset. It's the only dream I've had like that. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, there's been lots of little special things. I hope this satisfies the viewer that wanted me to talk about the opening of the mouth ritual. Again, I'm sorry that it's not more here's what you do, here's how you do it. But I'm not comfortable with that because I'm not an authority on this topic. So, I'm just rambling on, sharing with you some of the things that I've experienced and that I've done thus far, and kind of where I'm getting that information. Honestly, I cannot remember where I read about the opening of the mouth ritual right now, if it's in that book or if it was an online source, unfortunately. Because I just jot it all down when I see it, and hopefully don't find out later that it's a bunch of bunk. Because I'm just starting. And so if it resonates with me, I'm going to grab it and work with it. I also have a specific way I bless my oils now. Again, it's this whole little speech, and apparently it's the way that ancient Egyptian magicians blessed their oil. So it's the way I do. A blessing for my Isis knot, a certain way I charge amulets. I wrote down what Auset says in the 7 Scorpions healing spell so that I can look at that and insert what I need to insert, if I choose to use that spell. Yeah, I'm kind of groping along in the dark, but Auset has been a phenomenal guide thus far. She actually seems to be less concerned with any of the Kemetic and Heka stuff at all, and far more concerned with my own personal healing, growth, and development at this point. But I just feel I feel really drawn to try to work with her and honor her in a way that's been done a million times, you know, this sacred rhythmic. I want to get in alignment with that. So I'm being drawn to the Kemetic practices and Heka to an extent, but she hasn't tried to put that on me at all. Honestly, she doesn't. No, she's more about heal your divine masculine and feminine, and stand in your power. And she's just really here for me. But I want to give back to her, and I also feel like it could be immensely powerful in my development as a spirit immaterial and as a magical practitioner to sort of dive into these practices a bit. So that's where I am. If you're not interested in this sort of thing, I'm sorry. You probably aren't watching anymore if you're not interested, but this is where I'm at. So thank you to the viewer for posing the question. I'm sorry if my answer wasn't adequate, but there is so much information out there that if you really want to dive in yourself, it's really easy to do. To everybody else, thank you as always for listening. And until next time, much love and gratitude.